starting to wonder if I'm on the wrong track with these things. Because we were doing pretty decent on the evasion front, and now we have kind of lost both, and we no longer have Rampage, which is, again, an interesting dichotomy. It is both a lifesaver, because I won't tab myself into terrible situations, but detrimental because with our lowered stealth, it's just an extra step we have to take towards our friends here. So maybe not ideal, though the resistance is looking pretty nice now as we face off against a couple of cold-themed enemies. Find ourselves against a cold front here in the dungeon this evening. So just make sure you stay warm out there. But I should have checked the mark rates on that Sentinel. Regardless, much better than they were. I don't think we'll be finding ourselves caught with our pants down too much more as we just finish off the last little bit of our unexplored vaults. And sometimes we're still getting that sweet spot of taking out an entire pack of enemies, so do love to see it. Yeah, definitely a better performance on the chainmail than I possibly could have expected in the first place. I was just thinking to myself, they're probably not gonna follow in the exact same path I took, and that did end up being the case, but still not really a problem. Took a couple of these kids upstairs, and it's tough for me to gauge in my head, find the balance between evasion and AC, because when things go well with evasion, you're taking no damage. And oftentimes, fighting two trolls like we just did there, we were taking no damage. Now that we've switched off and we have slightly less evasion, not seeing that so much. But it's still probably, at least to a certain extent, to the better, to keep ourselves in one piece. There we go, Sentinel's marked down to 7%, so definitely looking quite a bit better on that front. That is one too many ranged enemy, unfortunately. Let's hide behind some bodies of their friends. That at least saves us a little bit of the trouble, and we can engage in a bit of a ranged duel of our own here at the end. Evasion is the best defense until it isn't. Wiser words have never been spoken, exactly. It can definitely give you that illusion of safety, to put it simply. But okie dokie, what do we wish to do here? Maybe brand weapon can actually be dropped for now. I'm trying to think of what scrolls could this even be. I think we got our acquirement, from what I remember. It's either vulnerability or torment. Okay, so neither of which is especially of interest for me at the moment. That's fine. I just had a mental picture in my head too. I briefly started thinking about Vaults 5. Would it not be lovely if by some miracle you could step down into Vaults 5 and not find yourself completely overwhelmed? And specifically, I guess, what I'm imagining in my head is being able to make it through all the enemies without anyone waking up. It'd be fun if maybe not a realistic expectation to put in place. Let's see, a Venom Axe on you, my friend. Not great. Oh, especially as even more friends begin to join the fray. Let's call on some friends of our own, shall we? Sack of spiders, and I'm kind of curious how all of you will perform. Let's try to focus our fire here, folks. I believe in you. You can do it. Maybe not quite as quickly as I'd like, but if we can keep kind of retreating away, we're at least a heck of a lot faster than all of these sons of guns. And let's see, the Vault Warden will potentially give us some trouble trying to head up the stairs. Still have good odds of paralysis thanks to how much we've been training Evo throughout the run here. Maybe I just reach out and grab you. And we can use boomerangs to try and make slightly more progress on that friend. Then I'm not too displeased with this overall. I'm going to get one more paralysis off on you, my friend. And that basically does the trick. A lot of our heavy lifting for us. Not too shabby here. And okie dokie. If I guess we assess our time here in vaults so far as a bit of an indicator for how the rest of the run will go as we continue to get a little bit deeper into the dungeon. Yeah, I was slightly afraid that the mark trap would have this effect. Oh gosh. And actually, worse than I originally expected. So we'll keep doing some of our stepping around there just to make sure, as well as we can, that we were keeping ourselves in a relatively safe spot. And then the Thunder Hulk means that I probably need to leave. Oof. Do I even bother continuing to face off against these sons of guns? I'm not so sure. Okay, I thought we failed another 69% chance there, but slightly better. So one down. Should I go with another roll of the dice here? Just try to paralyze you? Or do I need to start digging into our back here? Again, this is exactly what we were commenting and worried about earlier, that even though we've explored an entire floor, sometimes enemies can slip through the cracks here or there, and when you're retreating from an already nasty situation, not exactly the faces you want to see. I'm gonna play it safe. At least drink one heal wounds. Do end up getting the roll for paralysis anyway, but again, no real guarantees. We'll double check on our money at 1634, eh? Really debating in my head here. Do we keep saving up and try out the Ring of Slain? It might not be worth it, because with our current cash here, we could just end up buying, you know, we could buy this ring along with the other armor that isn't actually here. That if we look through once again, it's the +8 chainmail all the way down yonder here. I think I might want to take a peek at this. Again, it'll probably bring us into the next level of lack of stealth, as it were, but that may be all right for us at the moment here. Another 5 armor class, gets a bit more dexterity, does bring back rampage, so even though our stealth will go from there to, oh, the same actually. Never mind. Oh, I was wearing chainmail. What am I thinking? So we lost the willpower, but a bit more defense. Get rampage back, so even with the slightly lessened stealth of the heavier armor set, we can still potentially get in some of that stab, rip, stab, stab action that we appreciate so much. 28 AC, 21 evasion. I mean, it is looking pretty good. The evasion didn't take quite as large of a hit there, thanks to increasing our dexterity. And so, you know, I think I might have to be happy with that. The other thing I did want to double check is now with increasing our dexterity, do we want to swap up to a slightly higher damage rating? The damage rating, I know, looks slower, but once we enchant this up a bit, it'll be looking good. Plus, it's a speed brand, so plenty of stabs to make up for that difference as well. I don't believe we're going to be using these enchant weapon scrolls anywhere else, so let us just chunk through these bad boys, and that brings it up to being essentially on par. We'd just be losing our negative resistance, oh, and a bit of strength. So I'm curious if that will affect us too much as well. No, in fact, stealth just goes up. Oh, evasion does go down. Don't have the strength to wear our own armor. Not grand. But again, our damage will be looking pretty solid, I think, with that swap out. 0.3 attack delay. It's hard to argue against that. Do we head back to vaults to give it another trial run in the at least as close to the same conditions as we can get for the time being? Let's try it out here. Of course, we immediately run into an enemy that we very much have been complaining about the entire time, but that is fine. And head away from any walls before continuing down that road as well. You know, Peacemaker, I actually just realized I probably should have engaged on that fight while they were wandering potentially alone. Never know when there's a golem just sitting around the corner waiting for a lovely little surprise crystal spear. Oh, in this case, not a golem, but a war gargoyle. Not much better. Metal splinters can definitely pack a punch. I mean, we did just swap up to heavier armor, so some small amount of assurance maybe be taken from that. But yeah, that's kind of what we were afraid of. Only 19% chance to paralyze you as well, my friend. That is not good enough. What about blowing your mind? That, on the other hand, is good enough. The thing, hard exteriors may work out for you in the short term, but it's the strong mind that you got to be thinking about, my warrior gargoyle friend. In fact, why not both? Okay, no los dos. And there we go. Okay, still getting some of that sweet, sweet stab action. And this is a lovely little vault, replenishing a lot of the supplies that we've been losing over the last little while on the run. I mean, all in all, I'd say things are looking quite solid. I was hoping to just take a quick step into the door frame there, or at least step through it, I guess, was really the overall goal, but that's fine. Get rid of you to start out, and yikes. It's kind of what I was afraid of. So let's see, Vault Warden was like a 50% chance. I'm gonna take it. Again, if you're in the same situation, probably don't repeat my behavior. I think we got pretty lucky there. And in fact, next time we come across a Convoker, if we find ourselves in a similar situation, in that tiniest bit that is left on this level, we should likely just steer clear once they start actually convoking. There was no real reason for us to risk life and limb, especially not knowing what kind of enemies were going to appear out of the mists there, so could have been handled with a little bit more care and grace, I will say. Okay, and let's take some steps away from you, my friend. We can just get through this dire elephant. I mean, one at a time, they don't look so bad. Even if we're sitting at less than ideal hit point totals, it gives my confidence a spike, which again, may or may not be justified in any way, shape, or form, but it at least gives me the confidence to go through with it and finish off the encounter, and in fact, finish off vaults for now. Could always end up potentially doing vaults 5. I know we're definitely not an AoE guy. Again, if I could, by some miracle, backstab everyone in the vicinity, then I could see something being made of that, but not really an option for us. So chances are we're not going to head down to Vaults 5. The real question then becomes, do I just pivot directly into Depths? I mean, Vaults, all things considered, didn't go too horribly. A couple of near-death experiences is a good day when it comes to your average dungeon delving adventurer. It's not exactly a lifestyle known for its longevity, to say the least. And I think that will be what we do. Just straight into Depths, eh? We doing Crypt? That's the other consideration. Elf or Crypt are both up there. Again, we have good resistances for Crypt. Less so now that we swapped weapon. We'd have to go back to our short sword here. I guess the freeze brand sucks, but it's hard to argue with that negative resistance. You know, we do actually have one negative resistance now, and if I go into my shopping list, could actually max out with just this ring. And that would bring me around again to looking pretty solid for crypt, even with our rapier here. Oh, my decisions. If you haven't already noticed, I am not exactly in the most divisive, or rather decisive, of moods here, which probably doesn't come as a shock regardless, but add that layer to my already pre-existing inability to make decisions on a regular basis, and all of a sudden you're looking at somebody who could stare at this text for hours and just nothing going on up here. But we'll maybe revisit this if and when we decide to go to crypt. For the time being, let's just head to vaults, or rather depths. The vaults of the dungeon, as I've always said. And I should have, again, probably taken that as an opportunity to double check some spell chances. Specifically, I'm wondering about the chances of banishment, because that's something that you never really want to happen at an unexpected moment, if at all avoidable. Ooh, okay. Dang it, I was hoping we'd get one more backstab, but still not exactly complaint-worthy. I did not realize, or I had forgotten rather, that we can fly, so that actually helps out with the stabbing work in all the deep water there. At least makes it a little more likely that we can get through in one piece. And let's use the slower speed of the end to our advantage. And in fact, Hell Knight as well, not able to swim, so we're able to separate our enemies just a wee bit here. Probably should have, as always, been paying more attention to brands. 37% chance to hit me, and we are looking to be in rough shape here. But pretty good odds I can paralyze you, so not the end of the world. Okay, let's cement this into our memory here. Our upstairs from depths is a bit of a trap, potentially. I mean, really nice if we're completely surrounded by enemies, we can reduce that to a kill corridor, one-on-one combat, at least successive one-on-one combats. But in that case, I was not looking for one-on-one combat, I was looking to get the heck out of dodge, so maybe not ideal. And of course, all of our enemies, perhaps sensing some amount of weakness, have decided to go with electric brand attacks. Willing to risk it short term here. Pretty soon I'm just gonna start blowing their minds. We have a lot of charges on our mind burst, so that gives me some amount of security, I guess, in regards to the low damage of short blades. At least this one can get around that as long as it's possible, as long as our enemy doesn't have infinite willpower. Hey Eric, it's going well on my side. How are you doing? How have things been over your way? Hope it's been a fantastic last while, a good weekend here as well. Okay, you know what? Let us switch a little bit earlier into protective measures, shall we? And we can see how it goes. It's almost tempting to switch this wand over to my quiver to make it a little bit easier to operate, but hey, it gets the job done regardless. And here we go. Banishment at 8%. That's not bad. In fact, even getting banished is not necessarily the end of the world on this character. Fighting off against some of these sons of guns is a bit closer to potentially leading to the end of not the world, but our world, as we've come to know and love it. So what do I wish to do with all of you? I guess we can kind of stay in this little holding pattern for the moment here. In fact, we'll take one further step just to give ourselves a bit more breathing room. I'm in danger of losing another run to one well-placed large rock, so in the essence of avoiding such an eventuality, I'm gonna head back. I'm gonna engage in one of my less favorite activities here, stair dancing at least a little bit, just to keep ourselves in in a slightly safer environment. And okay, you, my friend, deal a decent chunk of change when the claws get swinging here, I guess. Makes sense. We're using a speed rapier? We are. Which, you know, I feel like I have a lot of optimism towards the speed rapier, largely due to it being by far the best weapon you can have on a new Skya run. So far, it's been doing fine. I wouldn't complain. I would say it's probably still equal tier, if not better, than our short sword we were using, the +12 short sword. So that puts into perspective just how good our little +6 rapier is. But yes, not necessarily ideal moving forward, or not as ideal as I might have originally imagined. Been brought up on the life of Skya followers, and it just does some incredible work in that context. But hey, obviously still able to get the job done to a certain extent here as things go fairly smoothly. Oh, and a Spriggan is something we need to be kind of careful with. +5 hand cannon of flaming, and you are wearing a ring of willpower. Not that you really needed it. You were already pretty much beyond our capabilities of inflicting any kind of status effect on, but I understand your approach. Better safe than sorry and all that good stuff. And okay, we're starting to find ourselves in a potentially dire situation. It's not fully at that stage yet, but definitely want to perform some amount, however small, of due diligence to ensure our survival as best we can. There we go. Sack of Spiders doing a wonderful job with it. Do appreciate your help here. Yeah, Wolf Spider is truly a piece of work in the best of ways. You get a +7 dagger on that Spriggan Berserker there. Okay, fair enough.